Oh god, it's happening.
Byron and Oakley have been served by robots. Dance for your dinner, monkeys.
Houston, we have a problem. Crazy parents, crazy life. That's why you listen to me!
Oh, wait a minute, let me change my icon.
And guess what, fuckface?
下一个人考考
Do my sources tell me that it's a Bob's birthday today?
Oh, wow. I didn't, wow, it's a very special.
Byram, happy birthday.
Thank you.
One step closer to the grave.
I know. A friend of mine, actually my best friend in high school, we're still fat, but we were like we were very overweight in high school. Like we used to go get McDonald's every day after school. Like that's like 2 hours after lunch at school, and we used to always on each other's birthdays just send each other like messages or a card that says you beat the odds. Like we made it one more year, and then we lost touch for like 8 years, and we reconnected like in March of this year. And he sent me a text message this morning, and he's like hashtag still beating the odds. And I was like, oh shit, the blast from the past.
Wow.
I'd be remiss if I didn't wish fellow Leo Jennifer Lopez a happy birthday as well.
Jenny from the block.
Has she called you?
She hasn't yet. She's probably still sleeping. Yeah.
It's early. Yeah.
No, Byram. I called you, and your phone's not receiving phone calls, and your inbox is full because you're so popular.
You know what it is? I don't know if you guys can see this. My phone, I have like no signal in this room. It's crazy I get Wi-Fi in here. In this room that I do the podcast from, I have no phone signal.
Interesting.
Yeah. Also, I have an iPhone 4. I'm embarrassed about that.
Nice.
I have a terrorist phone that's made of like gum. I think it's made of gum.
So I called your terrorist phone this morning. We didn't hear from you because we were worried that you'd been taken by Ukrainians, and I heard your like voicemail message, and it was total like terrorist voicemail message.
Why? What does it say?
It says something like, "The number you have dialed is unavailable."
Ooh, that's a.
Like it totally sounds like you just called like a dead number.
Well, I think my phone is actually off right now because I have to up my minutes again. I have to go in. Just, like,
You gotta go to the 7-Eleven and get more minutes.
Basically.
You have Boost Mobile?
Basically, no, yeah. I was talking to the Brazilian dishwasher, and I were comparing our cell phones the other day, being like, "Oh, I've got Boost Mobile. How's your service here?" I'm like, "Well, I have got Virgin Mobile, and the service is terrible." You guys, I'm convinced that this is why terrorists are so surly all the time. It's having a terrible telephone.
They're so mad about
really
a
annoying.
flip phone in 2014. They're like, oh!
Yeah.
They just don't make.
They're
good
like
burners.
driving their bomb van into the city, and like they don't make good burners. Well, my burner also costs $35, but I think they make nice burners. I know Edward Snowden has a really nice burner. Or no,
Yeah,
who was
that's
it?
true.
Brian Williams. Brian Williams has when he was interviewing Edward Snowden.
You know, the thing about terrorists, though, is that they all dress like it's 1997. So you would think to complete their look, they'd want a flip phone or like a big ass like Motorola like flip phone.
I mean, I guess
Terrorists
that's true.
don't dress well.
But when you're trying to like drive your bomb van into the city and like you're trying to use the maps functionality and it's just like not loading, that's extremely frustrating, and I can understand.
That is. I mean,
Yeah,
you're planning on your 72 virgins, and instead you're fucking with your stupid phone and banging on
Yeah.
the dashboard.
And
No,
it's like,
but listen, all terrorists listen to Colby Calais, so they're like super chill as they're driving into the city.
So, on the topic of their wardrobe, Byram, I think that the latest TSA profiling memo has gone
It's
around.
just-
Well, they profile for people that are dressed like Zach Morris.
Oh.
If they have the what are the peg jeans and cross color shirts, that'll get you detained.
You know
And
what's
you
funny? What were you saying, Liz?
I was just gonna say, smell really strongly of some Drakkar Noir cologne.
Yeah. Or like Obsession, like a really old Calvin Klein fragrance. Speaking of Calvin Klein fragrances and peg legs, I actually have a story that includes both. Funny enough, I have two of my really good friends are getting married in December, and they live in New Hampshire, so they're going to tailors. All the groomsmen are going to go to the same tailor in New Hampshire. So all the groomsmen, besides myself, live in New Hampshire, so they went and got their measurements. I had to fax up a form with my measurements, so we all know how fucked up this suit is going to be. It's going to be a purse. It's going to be like a big fucking burlap purse.
You had to fax it? Where did you even find a fax machine?
I actually didn't know how to fax on our fax machine, so I just emailed it. I scanned to email, and then I called the tailor and asked for his email address, and I forwarded the attachment to him because that was easier for me to do.
Sending a fax is another way to get yourself flagged on the terrorist watch list.
Exactly. So I didn't know where to go get my measurements, and I was like, this is going to come out really fucked up if the actual guy making the suit isn't taking the measurements. I was like, you know what, this is going to be like one of those fucking, I'll donate this eventually to like Dress for Success. Some fat lesbian woman is going to get this, and she'll go on an interview and land the job. But at Men's Warehouse, they still have like those old school men's fragrances. So they had like Obsession and Eternity and stuff. I was like, oh my god. But it reminded me of the only other custom suit that I own. Liz, you might know this story, but at our first company, the entire sales team got custom suits made for us. And they sent this guy in from Hong Kong, and he like took us into this room and took like naked photos of us. It was just a bunch of guys, and he's like, I was like, what's this for? And he's like, oh, so when I'm in Hong Kong, I can remember what your body looks like as I'm designing the suit for you. And I just felt like so violated.
You felt so objectified.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm a big slut, so I was like, take whatever photos. I'm getting a suit out of this, so I'm fucking made. So
you know
anyway,
he was selling flip books.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what's the poor son of a bitch who's gonna get my flip book? Like, you know?
I need you to fondle your chest.
Yeah.
Why does that help with the measurement? Shh.
Yeah. What? Can you just make your nipples harder? I just need to know how they'll poke through the custom shirt that I'm making.
Flick them. Flick them. Do
Here's
it
a full ice.
Just do this during photo. For those of you who couldn't see, I was licking my fingers. So anyway, I went through. Long story short, I went through and told them exactly what I want the suit to look like because the company was paying for it. So I was like, I want like a classic black suit I'll wear forever. He had swatches. I chose the material. I chose the cut and everything. So like a month later, our suits get delivered. I had ordered flat front, like no cuff pants, like very basic black, like a matte black or whatever. When I opened up this box, the pants were pleated, cuffed, and tapered. They were the most fucking disgusting, hefty. And then, when you iron suit pants, you're never supposed to iron them, but like when you get a pair of TJ Maxx, you're like, fuck it, I don't care about these. And they get shiny. Like, you're not supposed to, iron suit material.
Yeah.
The whole suit had, like, a sheen to it. It was, like, all, like, almost glittery. And I was like, this is the most fucked up suit.
A Jean-Claude Van Damme suit?
Yeah. The fucked up thing is, I refuse to wear it, and then I need a suit for an event. I'm like, fuck, I've got to wear this suit. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I want to throw it out, but I know that I need it in a pinch.
Was it Men's Warehouse?
No, it was this guy from Hong Kong. His name is Ram Kiswani. The reason I remember that is because I still get mail from him. No, I get like a letter in the mail every time he's going to come to New York. He does fittings at the Hilton. I should bring that suit.
He sends you a piece of the suit in exchange for a Polaroid of your body.
He sends fucking ransom
still
notes.
Getting the suit.
Yeah. He's like
fax him nudes.
He's like still working on the cape that goes with your suit. Here's a piece of it. A patchwork cape. Yeah, so I figured this suit that I'm getting for the wedding is going to be so fucked up. It's probably going to be backless. It's probably going to be like overall material. Like it's going to design like overall. So I'm already considering it like a throwaway item that I'm spending like $400 on.
Well, at the very least, you'll show up in Star Magazine. That's to Tony Braxton, who wore it best.
Yeah. You know what's also funny? Because I'm someone who thinks I know better than everyone else, I was like, you know what? I'll lose weight by December. So I was like editing the numbers of my measurements. So we all know how fucked up I'm going to look. My coworker went with me and he's like, you shouldn't do that. He's like, it'll be better if you do lose weight and the suit looks bigger on you than you gaining a lot of weight in winter and having a suit that doesn't fit at all. And I was like, I'd go with the suit that doesn't fit at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually a better idea to have a bigger fitting suit. But were you just using whiteout and then like refaxing in the form every time you had to like edit your weight?
No, I did worse. I started changing his numbers. So it's now even more confusing. The tailor probably got this and was like, that's a fucking letter K. Like, that is not a number. I don't know how to measure him. But New Hampshire's so fucking far. It's like 5.5 hours. So I was like, I'd rather have a fucked up suit than have to go to New Hampshire.
New
New Hampshire's like really far. Physically and mentally, I think they're really far away.
Ocus, how is our favorite 2-week-old?
Oh, she's fantastic. She's spitting up all over the place.
Yay!
Shitting her little pants like a champion. She's like different every day. She seems to be growing at a tremendous rate, and she looks different every day. So she's doing good. Actually, MGH just left. A couple of hours ago. She left this morning at 5 a.m.
Of course.
U-Hauls, like, you guys hit the road so early.
Yeah.
That's how we roll. But
That's how we roll.
I will claim a major victory of convincing Mom to stay an extra day longer than she'd planned.
Wow.
That is really extraordinary.
That's never happened. I've never been able to do this. Mom usually gives me the like, I'm just gonna.
No,
go
I
home.
have to. I have to go home and be in my bed eating chicken, watching Bachelorette.
She could not leave Leah. Leah's
Leah's so awesome.
Her siren song was too much for Mom. So they had a great time, and it was a really fun visit. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Bean, next time you're gonna have to stay longer.
Yeah, definitely. I almost didn't go back. It was only but for a stand-up comedy thing that I did.
How'd it go? How'd the stand-up comedy thing go?
It was good. It was good. I feel like I'm trying to go with sort of older material that I know well, and just work on like the performance of it. Just because it's not what you say, apparently it's how you say it.
What were some of your favorite jokes from last night, if you don't mind? I don't want you to use up your material, but
I think you guys have already heard this material, but it's all about television commercials. And there's this. The beginning of it is basically. I drove back from New Jersey today. I was in the car, and while I was in the car, I was hearing all these commercials. And one commercial I heard was a McDonald's commercial. And at the end of the commercial, there's a disclaimer that says a la carte only. And I love thinking about why that rule got made. Did like some super fancy dude pull up in his like limousine and roll down the window and be like, "Hello, I'll have the $12 prefix menu, starting with hash browns, followed by the egg McFishy."
Wait,
Big Mac.
I would buy the egg McFishy.
I don't know what that is.
That sounds like something we got from the mobile cooler on the way home from the Jag.
Totally. And I said that exact thing during that was the only thing that got a joke was the sandwich name I made up, the egg McFishy.
You gotta work into your routine how you and I used to do CSI in the car after we'd gotten home in the morning, and we'd be able to determine who drove home by which sandwich stump was left under the driver's seat.
Which sandwich stump had fallen down onto the one flip-flop we left into the wheel well.
If it was Mobile's seafood medley, we knew it was you.
Right.
Italian, we knew it was me.
Pink reef flip-flop encrusted in seafood salad. Bean must have driven home.
You're the only person in America who ever got the seafood.
It was delicious, and I will stand by it.
Oh my god. That is the fucking cover of your first comedy album. Just a pink reef slipper, like just a little bit of calamari, like.
Yeah.
Miscellaneous seafood with mayonnaise.
Whatever white glue substance they used to hold the salad together.
right, because mayonnaise wouldn't have been shelf stable, so you could have left it on the bottom floor of the cooler for fucking 17 months.
It's some derivative of latex house paint that tastes like an aioli.
Elmer's glue and
You know what's the best though? Liz, I still never lived down the one time I went to go get Liz a sandwich.
This is not funny.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Liz, yeah, because actually, thinking about the sandwich right now, it's actually a pretty trendy sandwich. Liz was hungover as shit, and she had like 3 back-to-back meetings, and she's like, all I want is a breakfast sandwich. So I was like, all right, I'll go get you one, because I'm obviously not going to do any work this morning. And I went with one of our coworkers, and we were like, let's get Liz a sandwich she'll never forget. And in hindsight, like, I think it's because we were laughing when we handed it to her that she was like prepared to be mad about it and then think that we had ruined, because she gave us the money for it, so we used her money.
And P.S. I had about exactly $7 left because although I made $75,000 a year at the time, I was like always popping mad bottles and never had any money.
She was always popping bottles.
I was always popping bottles. Yeah.
And so we got her an egg sandwich with sun-dried tomato and avocado, which actually I like want one right now, but
that is not delicious. That is not a delicious food combination, and I will never agree with you that you think it is.
That sounds like pretty reasonable. I thought it was like catfish, pencil shavings, and hot glue.
This story that you broke my collarbone, it suddenly turned into something that it was not.
Dude, you attacked me with an axe.
It was disgusting, and you were being super mean.
You tried to kill me, and I was saving you from yourself.
You were mean.
You know, did you ever try actually killing someone?
My sister tried to actually kill me.
Yes, I tried to kill Oak like every day. I was like Stewie.
Bad. You were the worst at killing me. You was terrible. You were just the hatchets were constantly flying over my head as I reached out to tie my shoelace, or the anvil would fall like right behind me.
You.
But you have to give Liz credit because Liz is
and I'd be like, Drat's fault again.
Dude, you were the biggest Wile E. Coyote little sister.
She would tweak her like tiny Dali mustache, and she'd be like, "Oh, foiled again!"
Right.
Oh.
She'd strap a giant exactly. to her back and put on roller skates and try to catch me.
Yep.
At least Liz is the type of person who, you know, if she's gonna kill you, she's gonna fucking look at you straight in the eyes and like watch you die. I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
When I was really mad at my cousin once. He lived with us growing up because his father had passed away, and he had really pissed me off about something. And I didn't have the intention to kill him, but I was like, he had a glass of soda on the dining room table, and I was like, I'm gonna put something in there that he's gonna drink and just get sick from drinking. And I went into the bathroom and I took out a can of Barbasol shaving cream, and I like put that in the soda like he wasn't gonna fucking notice. A big foamy, like he was drinking a fucking Guinness. Like, oh, don't worry, soda comes like that now. So like I watched him from the dining room and like I watched him come in. He's like, "What the fuck's wrong with the soda?" I was like, "Nothing." Like, when
Nothing. Just drink it.
Oh!
Good soda. Don't waste it.
Normal.
Yeah, it's a root beer float.
Well, that's not crafty.
I just ate all the food. That was my revenge.
I know. People wonder why I throw elbows at like buffets now.
I also turned all your stuffed animals against you.
Right.
There was that.
And mutilated all of my Barbies and troll dolls.
I did. I burned their heads off.
Okay.
And my mom had this like ancient, olden-timey exercise bike with like a real wheel and tire on the front. And you could spin the pedal and get it like get the wheel going real fast, and then you could like use it like a bench grinder to like just grind the heads off of like G.I. Joes, Barbie dolls.
Barbie dolls, troll
so
dolls.
So we spent a lot of time doing that. These days they'd call that like a warning sign or a red flag. But,
yeah, definitely a red flag.
Back in the 90s.
Remember when you used to kill mice with bowling balls?
I did.
What?
Okay, so first of all, we had a mouse infestation, and so we had mouse traps.
Because you lived in an unfinished basement by choice.
Yes, I did.
Yes. A mouse infestation is just the forest. You basically lived in the forest.
But they would get caught in the traps, and then they'd be like twitching, so I'd smash them with a bowling ball. Seemed like the right thing to do at the time.
Nobody ever diagnosed you with sociopathy?
Dude, I would be put in an institution now.
Absolutely.
I would be like a threat to society, and I would be sent away.
Were you successful in launching a fucking bowling ball at a mouse? Like, don't they move pretty quickly?
No, you just drop them on their heads. No, they don't move quickly when they're in a trap and they've severed.
Oh my! Well, that was actually a mercy killing if you look at it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I didn't want them like scurrying around the basement eating my Marochan instant lunches that I had stockpiled.
Because you need every ounce of that.
You need every ounce of sodium and fucking glue.
Oh, so good.
So
You're
good. I
looking
remember
right now.
you would be fishing around in the ashtray, that big metal ashtray, looking for cigarettes that hadn't been smoked all the way, and
Right.
combining the ends of those cigarettes so that you could smoke them.
Or putting them in
What?
that homemade
It was-
bong that I had.
It was like a concentration camp video or something.
So gross. Oh, good grief.
Totally.
Let's
was.
move on. Let's move on to a livelier and happier topic. This morning, very early this morning, it was reported that an Air Algérie plane carrying 116 people disappeared from radar over the Sahara Desert.
Fuck, what's with all these planes, you guys?
Dude, I know. Hold on. Let's see if there's any more news on Google.
I heard this story, and the one thing that I was like stuck on was that the plane was headed to or had left a place called Burkina Faso, and I just fucking love that name. Like,
That's always been my favorite country. Is that a country?
It's like the capital of Algeria, isn't it?
Oh, whoops.
I made that up. I have
That's
no
always
idea.
been my favorite country.
Yeah. But it is a fucking solid name, like Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Reports say they think it crashed, so we don't know whether it is foul play or what.
I am suspecting foul play all the time now.
So one of the highlighted points in the Hindustan Times is many French passengers on board. Why does that seem to imply to me that they care less if there were a bunch of brown people on the plane than if there were a bunch of European people?
I think
This
that's
is the
exactly
Hindustan Times. I feel like that all passengers would be treated equal.
No, even the I forgot where I read this, so I don't want to incriminate anyone or like point fingers at anyone. But I remember I was watching TV and they were talking about the Malaysian Airlines flight that was just shot down over the Ukraine, and someone on the news was like, "Well, we're just grateful there were no Americans on it." I'm like, "What? Like that is
what?
so fucked up."
Well, they're humans, and then Americans are more human.
Yeah.
Like,
Right,
you know that,
exactly.
right? Like, they're more human. Like, we have thoughts
There's like a
and
hierarchy.
stuff,
Then there's like Canadians, and then there's
Yeah.
like Swedish people.
and then
and
it kind
then
of tapers off from there. And
Europeans.
it's basically
Yeah,
simians from there.
right, exactly. Everybody after that can totally die in a plane
They
crash.
they do whatever. They're mostly just there for scenery in vacation
Yeah.
places. You know,
Yeah.
they make belts.
They're just extras in the Americans.
They play steel
Movie.
drums of some
I'll tell you-
cat.
I'll tell you
Rain
one thing
mix.
though. There's nothing more haunting than that photo of the mother and son who took a selfie before that flight took off, and they're like, super,
Ooh,
yeah, that shit's horrible. So
That is horrible.
the mother was going to like some singles retreat, and I think it was, I don't know where it was, but she it was like
what was with
single
her
parent.
son?
No, it's like the idea was for single people to meet and then bring your children. So like the kids all hang out
Oh.
together, and then you have a chance to mingle or whatever. And they were like super excited about it, and they like took a selfie, and they're like. And then how about the guy who posted a photo being like, in case this plane disappears, this is what it looks like. Did you see that?
Jesus.
Yeah.
No,
No.
that's creepy.
It sounds horrible,
Why?
but I always like whenever I get on a plane, especially like a long flight, I'll look around and I calm myself down by looking at people. There's no way someone's taking them down. Like little kids on your flight, you know what I mean? You see like babies, and you're like, all right, I'm safe.
That's what I do. Whenever I see babies, I'm like, there's no way this plane is gonna go down.
Yeah, and then like one time, and I think I told this story. I was coming back from the Bahamas, and there were a bunch of like college people or whatever, and I was like, this is the plane that's gonna go down. Like you can already see the headlines. You know what I mean? Like spring break flight crash, and then you start playing those headlines in your head, and you're like, I gotta get off this plane, like Final Destination style.
I usually say when the plane starts to go, you know that when it goes into turbulence and you can't
Yeah.
help but think this is it.
Yeah.
I try to think, it's a good day to die. I'm going to try to conduct myself honorably in my last moments.
I don't think that at all. I think definitely a different thing.
I
Like,
definitely-
I'm gonna
also-
eat this woman next to me. I'm gonna eat this woman next to me so that when we crash, I'll be full.
I also, whenever I get on a plane, I count the number of rows to the next exit, and I try to walk through in my head leaving the plane. Because I figure that if there is a plane crash, if I have some like set of steps in my head, then when I completely fucking panic, I'll just do that. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think
you're
stepping on
always
people's heads.
you're resourceful, so of course you're gonna have exit strategy. I know that if there's ever an emergency, it's gonna be the one time I'm taking a shit on the fucking airplane bathroom, and I'm gonna just like the door is just gonna explode open, and I'm gonna come fucking bowling down the fucking aisle.
Your last moments on Earth are gonna be spent with your bare naked ass fucking crowning, flying past every person on the plane while you're sucked out of the back of the plane and everyone else flies on contentedly.
And it won't.
Your fate.
And the best part is, it won't even be an emergency. Like, that'll just happen to me, but the plane will be perfectly fine. They're like, what the fuck happened?
They're like, how did we lose that guy?
And people just be like Instagramming you
Right.
with your shit tail flying past them.
Well, we made it to the 46-minute mark before we brought shit up, so I'm glad we're maturing on this podcast.
You know what I discovered?
I think it was mentioned well before that.
I discovered in my recent bout with parenthood is that everything just comes down to shit. It's all shit. Our life is shit. It starts in a fucking pile of shit. It ends in shit. It's just everything is feces. And you know you're talking to your real friends when you're talking about your bowel movements.
Yeah.
Because that's
true.
I mean, ultimately, that's what we end up really caring about. It's all we care about when we're babies, and then when we're old, it will be all we talk about. So, you know,
It's
let's
really
get down to brass tacks.
It's the thing that unites all people. It's really the one thing in this world that all humans have in common.
Everybody poops.
Everybody poops.
I was reading a story yesterday. So it involves two things we talk about this on this podcast: mice and shit. But they did a fecal transplant on mice, and the mice were able to eat poison and not die from it.
Are they transplanted their feces?
They do that all the time with people.
Yeah,
What?
they do that with people.
Why?
Common
Yeah.
procedure. Because a lot of, like, when you're in the hospital, sometimes they'll give you really strong antibiotics to fight off the horrible infections that you get in a hospital.
Yeah.
And those antibiotics will kill all your gut bacteria, which will make you susceptible to, like, other horrible infections. It's this, like, cascading snowball of medical interventions that happen when you're in the hospital. But what they do is they take your close relative's shit and they stick it in up your butt, and they fill they repopulate your intestinal fauna. Or
How do you
flora.
become a poo donor?
You know, if they're paying for that shit, I'm quitting this podcast and heading straight to the fucking hospital.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. I will be a professional poo donor.
I think
I have really great quality poo.
I think just to verify that that the quantity and quality and originality of your poo is real, that you have to, like, hover over a lunch tray, like, in the nurse's station.
That's fine.
You have to present like an orangutan and just poop.
Just imagine the poor soul that's, like, hooked up to an IV with, like, a breathing tube, and then they're like, "Oh, your poo donor's here," and then I walk over in some Bermuda shorts and, like, a Hawaiian shirt, and I just sit down on a lawn chair with a hole cut into it, fucking, like, calzones and gyros and, like, double fisting food.
Byram, the main thing is that you do not break eye contact.
No, never.
Eye contact.
You know what the other thing is? Like, do you have a poo type, like blood type? It's like, no, I don't want diarrhea. I need a fucking, like, solid fucking vegan poop implanted in me. Like,
I don't know.
yeah,
I think it's your family thing. It's a family thing. Like, if someone's close to you, they can do a fecal transplant.
Okay, I will definitely someday give you a fecal transplant if you need it.
I would happily accept your feces.
So you guys want to hear a fucking creepy
Gross.
story about sharing bowel movements? I actually have one, but when my family, like when my dad's siblings and himself were growing up in Europe, his little sister had gotten her face burned, and it wasn't like really burned, but they had an open fire where I guess because they lived in the fucking, like, in the 1800s, I guess. They were cooking outside, and my dad's sister got her face burned. She, like, fell into the fire, and there's, like, I guess because urine can be an antiseptic, her little brother peed on, like, a rag, and they put it on her face to like, I guess it was supposed to be good. And so my uncle, you know, used to always tell my aunt, like, my pee is the reason why you're so beautiful. I'm like, yeah. I've never told that story before. It feels like so weird coming out of my head because it's like something that I've always known, and I'm sharing it with millions of listeners. So
I mean,
Millions.
I feel like that's really rubbing it in her face. You know what I mean?
it really is.
Buzzing!
You can use that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. I feel like he should have just peed directly on her face.
Yeah, I should have.
That's what I'm saying. I just feel like it would have the added effect of sort of like washing out the wound. But that's just me.
I mean, you got to do the like Bear Grylls and like
Yeah.
piss in a coconut with your own shit and make a paste out of it, and then paint under your eyes with it and then eat it.
Speaking of making a paste, so you know how Oak, Liz, you missed this because it was just on a private chat between myself and Oak. I'll read the conversation. So I sign on this morning and I tell Oak, it's so humid outside and I don't have any cornmeal. And he goes, cornstarch, man. And for all the listeners, now like, Oak's always saying, oh, use cornstarch to like keep your area dry or whatever.
Yeah.
So he goes, so I wrote, oh.
Cornmeal is something you bread chicken cutlets with.
Yeah. So he goes, oh. I go, oh. And he goes, you're courting disaster with cornmeal. And I wrote, I'm glad we cleared that up. And he goes, no grundle bread. And I said, my legs rub together a lot, so they would have been grundle croutons. And then Oak found emoji for croutons. Like, where the fuck did you find those?
No, I think the emoji was a loaf of bread and a mushroom, which I thought were representative of the situation. If you put cornmeal in your pants, you're gonna have bread and mushrooms down there.
Yeah.
It's basically 2/3 of a Papa John's pizza. I think.
It's basically vegetarian stovetop going on down there.
Oh, you know what? So we got two messages from listeners yesterday. Yeah, one was from a very happy Maria Marasco, who was so happy for you, Oak. She said you could hear how happy you are being a dad, and she's a big supporter of our podcast.
Oh, thank you, Maria.
The other message was from a very angry Jennifer Saya Savage.
Oh, God.
Who said, I think I caught up on all your podcasts, except one is missing. Leave it to her to figure out where we missed a week. And I think we did mess up with one because there's one where the YouTube video said this session is still being recorded or something. So
yeah,
I think we have a 900-hour podcast that we're waiting to upload.
The YouTube glitched, and it's actually showing like a 12-minute podcast, which is like the first 12 minutes of our 27th episode. So yeah. I didn't publish that to iTunes like I normally would.
Okay.
But I did I increment the episodes accordingly. So if that ever like Google ever produces that content, then I'll put it up and Savage can go back and listen to it. That was a crackerjack episode too. It's too bad.
Shit.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do? Technology's a motherfucker, right? Yeah. I guess we should ask for our money back.
Yeah. Exactly.
Did we start charging?
After that happened, Oak was like, "Can you ping Google?" And I was just like sitting at my computer, staring at my computer, being like, "How does one ping Google?"
Is there a button?
Yeah, like,
ping Google?
Can I call someone? Like, I don't really know. I don't know how to get in touch with Google.
You know what's funny? I realized yesterday, on the eve of my 32nd year, that I really don't know how to take direction on anything. Like, I still will sit in meetings, and my manager, and this is every manager I've ever had, will tell me to do something, and I just because I'm such a yes man when it comes to work, so I just nod and smile, and I don't even really listen to what the request is. I don't even think about asking follow-up questions, and then I get back to my desk, and I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. And I should probably start asking follow-up questions and making sure I'm prepared, ask for help. But I literally that's one thing I learned about myself yesterday. I'll just nod and smile. Just like you, Liz. Yeah, I'll do that. And then you get to your computer, and it's just all right, I guess I'll play Minesweeper.
So I do that a lot, too, at work. And, one of the things that, as a programmer, you're supposed to do is, manage clients' expectations or, be realistic about what things we can and can't do.
Yeah.
But I never feel like I know what things we can and can't do. So whenever
Yeah.
anyone asks me to do something, I'm like, a smart person would probably know how to do this. So
Yeah.
I can do it. Sure. And then I have no idea how I'm going to do it. But I always say, sure, it's how hard can it be? And
Yeah.
And then I end up fucking working all night to try to figure it out. Something that a sensible person would have gone, no, that's too hard. Yeah, that's
Well,
not what
you-
you're paying for.
Well, that is the thing. Like, part of being like good at your job is actually learning when to say no. And because I'm someone who always feels unprepared for stuff, I'm always, like you just said, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like it's possible. Like, I'm sure someone knows how to do that. So yeah, I'll say it can be done.
But that's just an experience thing. I mean, with experience, and you end up.
No, I like still do it, and then I procrastinate on top of it. So it's like literally 9 hours after something's due, and I'm like, yeah, this is not possible to do. And then I get defensive. I'm like, why the fuck did you ask me to do that? Meanwhile, there's like this.
You son of a bitch! This is your fault.
There's this whole paper trail where I'm like, yeah, we can do that. Smiley face. I'll get right on it, and then I fucking do it. And I just reply with Burkina Faso, and they're like, that's not even a response. And I'm like, yeah, but it's so cute. It's such a. You can't get mad when you see Burkina Faso in your
Who's
spot.
Star Trek communicator?
Yeah, what is that weird chirping noise?
That is an office phone in here.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought it was.
The room that I'm in my office, we have 2 like phone booths that are actually like set up to have like private calls. So I actually use them for non-work related things.
Is that where you guys have confessionals?
It's basically like a real world confessional.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like I'm recording right now.
Me too.
He stuck his finger in the peanut butter. That was my best Pedro Zamora from Real World Sanford. Fuck stuck his finger in the peanut butter.
Taking it back to '93, right?
Yeah, dude, how old is that show?
That's when Real World was Real World. They're on like their fucking like 50th season.
Are they Real World still a thing?
Yeah, they just switched things up a bit on this last. I guess they realized like new generations aren't really all that into it, so they switched.
Real World
made it-
wheelchairs.
Yeah. They made it so you move into a house with like 5 other people, and now it's more of like a Big Brother type thing because all of your exes move in with you.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, so they've really gamified it, which I think it's about time to fucking call it quits.
They still do the challenge though, which I think is kind of interesting. I love
Yeah.
it.
You guys do one of these reality shows?
Absolutely.
You would?
Well,
Yeah.
we can't because you have to be under 25, I think, to do them.
Yes.
But it's weird because I still watch them sometimes, and I still think these people are older than me because I was like 12 when I was watching these shows, like even
Right.
like 10, And
Yeah, I always just assume anyone on TV is older than me because
Yeah.
it seems like they've like achieved something.
Yeah, I always have to like do a fucking gut check when I find out that there are like players in the NFL that are like 15 years younger than me.
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Holy
Or
shit.
like Olympic gymnasts. I'm like, oh my god, you're
When-
1/3 my age.
Our little cousin Grace once was talking about figure skating, and she was talking about like her sort of figure skating career. And at one point she was like, "Yeah, I'm way too old to be doing stuff like that." And I was like, "What?
Yeah.
Weren't
She's
you just
like,
born?"
She was like 17 at the time.
I was like,
We're basically like Greta Van Sustren's age. Like, we're fucking old. But the crazy thing is, some kid that I used to work with posted something on Facebook the other day. He had a picture. I mean, he took a picture of a printout of his very first email that he sent. And like, I don't even know when I started sending email. I think it was probably like 3 years ago. But he had one from 1999, and he sent it to a famous cello player from Juilliard or something, because I guess he had a recital at his school. And so I'm thinking, like, this kid's got to be my age. We worked together. And it's such broken English. It's so poorly written. And I'm like, how is he writing that way in 99? Like, we were 17 years old, or like I was 17 years old. And then I looked at when he was born, and he was born in 91. And I'm like, holy fuck, like.
Yeah. I
That
checked
is-
some kid's ID at work last night, and he was born in 1993. I'm like, why are you showing me this? You're not legal to do anything.
I was like, "Are you even born yet?
yeah,
What year is
exactly.
it?"
Yeah.
You're like, you go
I
back
haven't
to
even
Leah's
gone to
class.
college yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't even gone to college yet, so there's no way you are old enough to drink booze.
That is insane.
You guys, I have a moral quandary that I would like to discuss with you.
Go for it.
So last night, after work, I went and met up with my new comedian friend, Trent. It was his birthday. And he was hanging out with a couple of other comedians at a bar in Charlestown, so I just went and met up for a little while. And apparently these gentlemen had been smoking marijuana all evening, and so at the end of the night, we all went outside and they were smoking weed. I know. And they were smoking weed behind the bar. And Trent's a big black guy, and this other guy, Mike, is like this white dude with like really, really long, like beautiful curly hair. It's like his thing. It's like his comedian thing is like really long curly hair. I think it's kind of his thing. I don't know. He's very funny, but he's got really, really long, kind of weird hair. And so we're hanging out there behind the bar, and all of a sudden these three dudes who had been in the bar come out, and they go to get in their car, and they're just like dudes. And all of a sudden one of them comes over, and he's like wasted, and he's like, "Do you guys have any weed? Do you have any weed?" And Trent and Mike are like, "Yeah, here." And so they like start smoking weed, and then these two other guys come over, and they have this like, they have a bowl, and so they're like smoking weed like out of the bowl, and they're like, these guys are being really aggressive, like standing really, really close, like talking, like they were acting like cops, and they were being super aggressive, and just like pretending to like fight one another, and like just, it was really stressing me out. And so I was like, I want to go home, and I made Trent walk me to my car, and I got in my car and I drove home. And now I'm like nervous that like Trent and Mike got their like asses kicked by these like terrible, scary men, because I haven't heard from anybody. That's not something I have to...
You were right to leave, because if somebody's gonna get their asses kicked, you're not gonna do shit about it.
Exactly. And I feel, is that anti-feminist that I had that instinct that it's like, I'm a woman, I'm getting the fuck out of here, like this is not my responsibility to deal with these.
And also, fuck people who don't understand how shit goes down, because that's, if people are gonna do fucking violence to each other, you're not gonna intervene. What are you gonna do? Jump on someone's back? Like,
like be moral support. Like, it's not. Me being there is not gonna help anybody with anything. I was like wearing a skirt. It was not. It was not gonna be helpful.
If you were a licensed to carry a concealed weapon and trained with it on a daily basis, I would say you had an obligation to defend your friend. Other than that, you don't.
Yeah.
Let's. I don't think it's anti-feminist to say that women should not engage in hand-to-hand combat with men.
Right.
Just also, your friend is a giant black man. Like, if he can't protect himself, what the fuck are you gonna do?
Right. Exactly.
You'd actually be doing him a disservice if you hung around, because then he's got to worry about you and protect you.
No, so his obligation, if he feels like there's a dangerous situation, is to get you out of there.
Right.
That's. I mean, that's I mean, whatever you want to say about the role of men and women in society, like, men should endeavor to protect women from violence.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's how it is. I mean, I don't, you can lean in all you want, but the fact of the matter is that body mass and upper body strength are a big deal when people are drunk and they want to hurt each other. So I think you did the right thing by leaving. I think if you felt there was if you really felt like there was an impending threat of violence, then maybe you would call the cops. But that's your only recourse.
Yeah.
Or you call the bouncers from the bar or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, it seemed like it was just drunk guys that wanted to smoke some weed.
That's what it seemed like to me too. And now I'm like having all these like weird paranoia that like Mike and Trent got their asses kicked, or that it was like cops or something. But even if it was cops, I don't think what are they going to arrest them for smoking weed? What's that like? It's like a ticket. I think that's like a ticket.
Yeah,
right.
Maybe you're just overreacting, and maybe like you got home and then they just stayed in the parking lot and started double dutching, and it was like the opposite of what you're thinking.
That's what I'm hoping, and I just missed like the hot double dutch session. And that's why
it's a man's responsibility not to get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
Trent was definitely hopping up and down, going, "Mama said go to the store get some milk." Right?
Whether by ingenuity or violence, it's a man's responsibility to avoid ass kicking.
That's kind of what I figured.
Either get the fuck out of there or handle your business, but don't get your ass kicked. And it's definitely not anyone else's to bail you out.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad.
Did you guys hear about that story? The guy in, was it Queens or Staten Island, who broke up a fight, and the cops arrived, and they saw him on the scene, and they had arrested him before because he's known for selling cigarettes at like some little stand that he set up, and he sells them tax-free, and they've arrested him for it in the past. So they show up on the scene. He was actually one of the good guys who like broke up the fight, but they approached him, and they were like, you know, trying to arrest him, and he was just like not really resisting. Like he actually, there's video of it. Someone took the video on their phone, and the guy was just like, no, please don't touch me. Like I'm not involved in this. You have no right to touch me. And then one of the cops grabs him from behind, puts him in a chokehold, and then they like wrestle him to the ground. And he's a really big black dude, and he's like, you know, please stop. I can't breathe. He was
right about this.
And they weren't listening to him, and then he just went lifeless. And then like EMT workers, and someone has this on their phone. You like watch the guy die, and
Wow.
EMT workers, like no one is even making like the slightest effort to help them. And then they realize that they fucked up big time. Like it's not a sanctioned move to put someone in a chokehold. I guess like that's what came out of this. They like interviewed Ray Kelly, like Police Commissioner Ray Kelly, and he said, you know, that's not an actual move that we endorse or condone or whatever. So, but it's just crazy to see this guy who like was so innocent. I mean, like even if he is selling fucking cigarettes tax free, like who the fuck cares? You know what I mean?
Does that require bodily force to like stop this guy from doing stuff?
I mean, how about all the fucking guys selling fake Tory Burch purses down the street? Like, put them in a fucking chokehold too, then, if that's fucking MO, you know?
I mean, I mean, there's a lot of that going around. Did you read recently about the 2-year-old that was like put in the intensive care unit and had to be put in a medically induced coma because the cops threw a flashbang grenade in his crib?
Right.
What?
They were just like, they thought that somebody in the house was selling weed, so of course they had to like put a 20-man fucking SWAT team through the front door, and they go in guns up fucking with flashbang grenades out, and they throw a grenade in the baby's crib, and they fucking burned them all up.
Holy shit.
And it's like commonplace that like when police are serving a warrant on your house, that it's like standard operating procedure to shoot your dog. If they feel, or if they can reasonably make a case that they feel threatened by your dog, they shoot your dog. It happens all the time. It's fucking crazy.
It's fucking crazy. And that was the worst part about last night, was that the thing I was most scared of is that these guys were cops. I wasn't scared that these guys were just like crazy, like drunk white dudes, because like that I understand, but I was worried that these guys were like psycho cops. That, like,
why are we
just
scared of the cops? Why are we scared of the cops?
I know.
Do they not work for us? Do they not? Or they don't?
Yeah.
Or we're just like chumps to be fucking extorted and beat on.
Yeah.
I mean, basically.
I mean, don't we pay them to protect and serve us, or do we pay them to kick our asses, write us tickets, give us a bad time to make more money for themselves?
Right.
What are we doing? What the fuck is going on?
And on next week's podcast, we have Ice-T, who will be doing a poetic reading of
The police.
You know what's funny? No, it's Ice Cube, right? Or is it Ice-T? Ice-T.
Ice-T.
I can't help but think of myself and Liz as cops, like some Cagney and Lacey type cops.
Mm-hmm.
And we would totally like abuse our authority, but it would be more like, we'd be like, break into a house because we suspect something happening there. And then like I'd be like, Liz, cover me. And then I'd go into the kitchen and like rifle through their freezer, and they'd be like, yeah, frozen enchiladas. And then you'd be like, give me one. And I'd like throw one across the room to you, and you'd catch it in one hand. And then we would just like eat them as popsicles as we like rummage through someone's house.
Wait, so which one of you would be the loose cannon, and which one would be like 5 days from retiring with full pension?
Ooh, good question. I feel like that role would be interchangeable between us. I
have the body of a menopausal 70-year-old woman, so I'm pretty sure I'm the retirement bitch.
Yeah.
So being you're the loose cannon?
I'm the loose cannon, hair trigger.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You'd be like, this is a stick-up. And then I'd be like, no, that's not what we're supposed to say.
Wait, you guys could totally make a buddy cop movie just using, like, the cameras on your terrorist phones.
we would also really fuck up the Miranda rights. Like, I would never get those right.
You have a right to shut up. You don't know.
Miranda is a fat girl's name. I'm out.
I'm like, Liz, read her the Carrie Bradshaw rights. This reminds me of a BuzzFeed article that came out yesterday. Did you guys see this? There was a black teenager who took Vine videos of every time he went to a convenience store, and he's like smiling in the videos, but he has like the front-facing camera on, and you see people who work at the convenience stores conveniently in the aisle that he's in.
Conveniently.
And they're like restocking stuff. So it's like, oh, these donuts are out of order. Like, let me fucking refile them. Like, they go by the fucking what's the library code?
Yeah. Dewey Decimal.
Like you gotta fucking put them back on the shelf in order. And so he does this at several stores, and he like catches them on Vine. Like literally, he goes into an aisle, someone files in right behind him, and she starts like adjusting some make-believe thing on the shelf. Pretty crazy.
That is cray.
That's racist.
That's racist.
If only some stores knew better, because I don't get followed around any stores, and I'm the fucking worst perpetrator of those crimes.
You really are.
I'll walk in and I'll go to like the Lindt chocolate bar like section, and I'll just start like crumbling them, just because I can.
That was like when Oak used to send me into the pharmacy in Wallfleet, and I would fucking clean the place out.
Yeah.
And Oak would be standing outside and just be like, "Mwahaha!" My adorable 9-year-old sister just fucking stole so much candy. That's a good
Nobody
racket.
suspected you.
Nope. I was like,
Even though you're like your little like bathing suit top that you would wear in there is like all like jagged and square with like buttons and nerds and shit. You're like rattling your way out with sour warheads like falling out of your shorts.
Falling out of the bottom leg of my pants.
Leaving a trail of Twizzlers down the sidewalk.
Totally. I'm like, bye, thank you.
And then they would feel actually sorry for Liz, because they're like, oh man, why did she stick a scooter pie in the back of her pants? She should have put that somewhere better. They're like, here, we're so sorry. Here's a wipe.
Yeah, they're like, here's a wipe. You can have all that candy. You're pathetic.
Hashtag scooter pants.
Scooter pants.
It reminds me of when I was a kid. You know, like I was always trying to impress I was the youngest of 4 boys, and I was always like trying to impress my older brothers and stuff. And I was with my closest brother in age and my cousin and a couple of other friends, and we went to the store, and we didn't need to steal anything, but like they like, you know, I thought it was a cool thing, and I was like, oh, they'll be really impressed if I walk out with this quarter water. And so I grabbed a quarter water, and I'll never forget, it was a blue one. I was really excited about drinking it. And the fucked up thing was I had the 25 cents to pay for it, but I was like, I'm not going to pay for this. These guys are going to think I'm the best when I go out there. And I still do, I wear very ill-fitting clothing. And I had these I had a Simpsons t-shirt on, and I had these white sweatpants shorts that the drawstring like was broken, so they were always like sagging super low. And I had the drink in my pocket, and I just like fucking chest out, just like fucking march through that store, and I'm like going out the door, and they're like, hey, and I'm like, what? And they're like, you're stealing. And I was like, no, I'm not. And they're like, it's in your pocket. Like there's a big fucking juice hanging out of my pocket. And I was like, no, it's not. And they're like,
no, it's not.
Then they're like, just pay for it. I was like, fine. And I just like put the quarter on the counter. I should have been like, but between us, like I fucking stole this, all right? Don't tell anyone.
Between us.
Stealing.
Oh, theft.
It also reminds me of another quick story. I had spent like the weekend at my aunt's house, and we had to take the city bus to go back to where I lived. And we got on through the back of the bus, and my aunt was probably like 10 years older than me, like 11 years older than me. And we got on the bus, and we sneak in through the back, and she had like a big wad of change, but we got seats in the back, and then she was going to send me up to the front and to put the change in the whatever receptacle that's up there. And when we sit down, and she's rummaging through her purse, and the bus driver goes, lady with green socks, like you have to pay your fare. And then she gives me the change to go pay, and I'm like marching up to the fucking front of this bus, and I was like, people are gonna think that I'm the lady in fucking green socks because I'm a fucking 9-year-old with tits. Like they're gonna, and I wasn't wearing green socks, but like I was so self-conscious about that. That's the end of the story.
Maybe that's the title of
Green socks.
this week's episode.
The lady with green socks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right about
Or Grundle bread.
Yeah.
You
I like
guys want to do picks?
or
Yeah.
Grundle bread.
I got
Yeah,
it.
some picks.
My pick for this week
Ah.
is Google Plus, the much maligned social network from Google, which is actually pretty awesome
Yeah.
for storing and sharing pictures. We've been taking tons of pictures of Leah,
It is awesome for that.
and it's really nice. You can really easily make albums. Any pictures from my phone automatically like back up, and they're easy to like move them around and share them with people. So my Google Plus page has a bunch of pictures of Leah. If you're interested, I'm going to be spamming people with baby pictures for some time to come.
She's
But anyway,
awesome.
I'll be checking those out.
it's a great service. It's super easy to use. There's nobody ever on there except nerds, so it's pretty mellow. But anyway, that's my pick of the week. Google Plus.
Google Plus.
Yes.
My pick of the week is the video that Oak made of his infant daughter when he decided that he wanted to try startling her, because when you wake her up out of a sleep and startle her, she does something like a lemur or a starfish or something. So Oak tried again to drop a computer mouse on the ground and scare her out of sleep so that she would.
Oh, that's really nice of you.
Really, really funny and super cute.
It's so cute. And are those videos on the Google Plus page?
They are, yeah. I will make them publicly available. Also, I discovered that if you hold her and then you just lower her a couple of inches, she'll go.
Oh, like quickly, like an elevator drop.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really cute. I don't think she's really scared. I think it's just a infant reaction that they have where they do this like startle move.
No,
She does it all the time. Like when I my spoon hits like my cereal bowl, she's like,
Yeah. No. It's so cute.
pretty great. I think she only has it for like a couple more days, and then she
Yeah.
grows out of it.
Well, document it as much as possible.
Yep.
My pick of the week is going to stick with children, and I was visiting some friends, and they had, I guess he was like 2 years old at the time, and their son's super cute and like very friendly or whatever, and he was getting a kick out of me like picking him up and throwing him in the air and catching him, and like I was doing that whatever, and he was loving it whatever, and then like before I left their house, I went to go say bye to him, and he was sitting on the couch, and you guys will understand this panic. I threw him up in the air, and once he was midair, I realized that he was like half an inch away from a ceiling fan. And I caught him, and I just like hugged him so hard. And I was like, holy shit. That would have been the fucking worst day of my life. And I was so grateful. And then I just like put him down, and his parents didn't see, and then I just like got in my car, and I wanted to cry. I was like, I cannot fucking believe that almost happened.
Well, here's to not throwing kids into ceiling fans.
That was your pick, not throwing your kid into a ceiling fan?
The feeling of relief that was so like barely.
I got that.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I love it.
Alright.
I think that was a great show, guys.
I think so too.
You did good. Byram, happy birthday, man. Have a blast.
So
Thank you
happy
so much.
birthday! I love
Thank
you.
you. Love you guys.
Pod will be up on iTunes soon.
Yeah.
Next week, Bobs.
See you next week, Bobs.
Hey, dude.
Ooh.